Kia ora from Auckland, which is how New Zealanders, also known as Kiwis, would say hi in their local Maori tongue. Although English is definitely the most commonly used language here, this is a multicultural city where you can find people from all other parts of the world. And just as New Zealand is known for its natural beauty, Auckland, the country's largest city, has also been known for its stylish and cosmopolitan lifestyle.
The city centre and places like Ponsonby and Parnell are really, starting to become world-class, and we have world-class restaurants and world-class cafes.
It's a lot of fun. I think, like everywhere, it's about family, but I think Auckland is great places for family to hang out.
David is an engineer at Cubic Defence New Zealand. He and his wife are part of a new generation of Kiwis who are changing their country's reputation from a farming society into an exporter of cutting-edge ideas and technologies. They also spent time working abroad in places like China, which David feels had a significant impact in the way he sees innovation.
I think that process has allowed me to see what's available, see what's potentially out there and what I could go for, and set my sights higher every time.
He likes to ask questions and find answers, and I think that's a very good thing. And he's also very, very hardworking and never gives up. So most times he finds those answers.
And so to find more answers to more questions, David joined 3 other engineers as one of the 3 teams participating in this hackathon. They were trying to figure out how they could use machine learning to better process all the data generated in the training exercises that our military customers conduct using Cubic equipment. By machine learning, we mean computers learning how to make sense of data without human help, which may sound rather futuristic, but David's team argues that it is a much more common concept than what you may think.
Everyone's interacted with machine learning on a daily basis when they go onto Google and type in a search, and Google's presented them with actual search results. Well, that's machine learning. Or Facebook, and it's automatically tagging your face, but that's machine learning. And when you think about robotics and vision systems, that's all machine learning.
The second team in the Kiwi Hackathon was formed by Grant Ramsey and Tim O'Brien, and they called themselves Team Cobra. The Cobras are part of a new wave of engineers at Cubic who are able to work efficiently with both hardware and software. Their idea was to use widely available radio transmitters, including inexpensive ones, to replace the bulky relay stations used by Cubic for some of their training solutions.
So at the moment we build a rather large system. It has 9 simultaneous channels, transmitter and 8 receivers in order to capture all the training data. My customer wants to buy trained soldiers, and if he can get there without buying my box, he will. So we need to realise that we're a training company, we're not a box and a book shipping company, because if we do that, one day we'll wake up, someone will have gone around us.
Our engineers currently need, or in fact we've discussed the idea with them and they think this blindingly obvious. Why don't we have this already? So it's something that we can do and instantly get value for the company.
Now, if you've noticed, although the organizers of this hackathon kept the theme fairly broad by choosing the idea of train anywhere, all of the participating teams chose to use their hackathon to improve an existing product that Cubic New Zealand was already working on. Team VS wanted to improve the way that training data is analyzed. Team Cobra wanted to improve the way that training data is transmitted and received. And Team HKG, our third and last team of the New Zealand Hackathon, certainly worked under that same idea. They wanted to redesign one of Cubic New Zealand's top training products so they could reduce its size and weight, prolong its battery life, and provide new forms for recharging the system's power without having to stop the training exercise.
One of the ideas, one of the energy generating things is the piezo there, and you got to sort of press it and compress it and to generate the power. So this idea that we laughed there for a little bit was to put into your shoes, so you're stepping on it as you're walking and generating power that way. So hopefully we're going to try and, I don't know what it's going to look like, but we're going to try and put it into a shoe somehow, or something.
Now there's something special about the entire Cubic New Zealand Defence Campus, which explains why all of the hackathon participants were interested in working with already existing company products. One interesting quality about this campus is that it is fully equipped with everything it needs to take ideas from zero all the way to finished products. This creates a certain culture where team members have a deep relationship with each product they work on before it travels from New Zealand to the Cubic manufacturing plant in Mexico, especially the engineering team.
We're very focused on being an engineering centre of excellence so that we can
not only market ourselves externally but also support the One Cubic vision, somewhere that people can come for good quality engineering work that they know they're going to get done properly and on time and on budget. Yeah.
According to Bernadette Coetzer, the contract manager at Cubic New Zealand, another interesting element that shapes the mentality of the team members of this campus are the unique clients that they serve. Besides being constantly working with the New Zealand Army, this Cubic campus exports its products to dozens of other countries, including Ireland and Italy. Some of these customers, especially the ones in the Asia-Pacific region, such as Singapore, are constantly pushing New Zealand engineers to reinvent themselves with innovative ideas.
It's quite a thing in the Asia-Pacific region. Singapore with Thailand or with Australia, they see what the others have and they either want something that's similar, but in most instances something new and better.
How we think about problems matches many of the ways that our customers think about problems in this part of the world. And sometimes U.S. thinking versus international thinking can be different. So we bring a really kind of diverse set of thinkers, ideas, and capabilities to a common set of problems.
Eric Stjerna is an American expat who served in the U.S. military for many years and now is the general manager of Cubic New Zealand. He tells us that another important trait of his campus is its strong sense of community, where people from all over the world have learned how to work together and take care of each other. Perhaps another reason why the Hackathon teams wanted to improve the products that they and their teammates have been working on.
Very few problems are solved by an individual here. That's a very Kiwi approach, and I've taken that on full bore as part of joining this team here. And you know, when you work together as a team, you get good outcomes. Good outcomes lead to better performance as a business.
A good example of the sense of community is actually the HKG team. Despite each person being from a different country, they have found a harmonious and productive way of working together and taking advantage of each other's skills.
Yeah, us three were all software engineers and we all worked in the same office. And then when the hackathon came on, George, we call him the master, he came up with this idea.
Hideo is the master.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm a professor.
Professor, he's the professor. He's a master and I'm the comedian. So.
And so the hackathon begins. A fierce battle among three teams that share the ambitious goal of coming up with an innovative training solution in only one weekend.
And I think the hackathon allows opportunity to innovate, to break some stereotypes of what we might be, because if we're afraid to fail, we're not going to step outside the box. And a hackathon is not about staying in the box.
Now, let's be clear. We're not saying that there are only work-related reasons for joining this competition.
It's a great challenge. It's a bit of fun. So some free food. No.
He doesn't do anything in his weekends anyway.
So if you get a hit, the game piece ID was the ideal match up with the player and the player listings to who the hit was reported by.
So what are the differences between those three things?
After working almost the entire night, on Saturday morning, the VS team was doing anything possible to advance their machine learning project.
The data had a few gaps in it, sort of thing wasn't quite what we wanted, but still I think we've made good progress on interpreting it. We got it into a program called Weka, which is for machine learning, which is just a good way to be able to rapidly kind of view all the information that's inside it. It chops it all sorts of different ways so you can see different patterns and just visually.
Team VS had asked the Australian Cubic Defence team for data from actual exercises so they could analyze it with their solution. However, since this was the first time the members of this team were working with this type of data, they had to figure out what it all meant. Luckily, they were not shy about asking for help to get some guidance.
The colleague of ours, he's a subject matter expert, and he was just giving us some really useful insight into potentially what we're seeing inside the database and what could be happening.
In the meantime, Team Cobra was having a bit of a hard time trying to get their project to a place where they felt comfortable.
The radio demodulation is a bit more complicated than I think we
initially
anticipated.
Team Cobra was trying to demodulate a signal that was coming from a device that was set in another building of the Cubic New Zealand campus. At that point, they were able to capture the signal with their devices, but they couldn't do anything with it. Luckily for them, their good humor was helping them overcome their obstacle.
It's going to take time to figure out.
There's quite a learning curve for both of us, I think, in modulation schemes and getting a lot of the parameters correct for some of the filters that we're using. It's taken a lot of learning, so we'll get there with time, with luck.
Team HKG was certainly the most experienced team in the competition, with people like Hideo, who has worked with Cubic for many years. That said, they too encountered different roadblocks.
The stuff that I thought I could get through quickly is the stuff I started with, and that actually took me way longer than I expected, so I spent maybe the first 8 hours kind of getting nowhere.
Despite their obstacles, they focused on being practical and adapting to the circumstances in order to finish a solid prototype in time.
I think that's what it's going to be for the whole 2 days. It's a bit of a, if we come up against something that doesn't work as we expected, we're just going to use something else, and it might not be exactly what we wanted to do, but I think at least it'll give the concept.
As the night descended upon Auckland, it was time for the last dinner of the hackathon, where participants can talk to each other about their projects.
Our progress is really slow, and we hope that, as David keeps trying to say, there's some kind of wave of, I don't know.
We're still waiting for
we're still waiting for that wave to ride into shore, because it's getting pretty deep.
During dinner, participants seized the opportunity to discuss their own views on innovation and what it would take for the company to achieve it. They all agreed that having a good workplace was not just important, but necessary. But what is a good workplace? This is how David defined it.
You've had a really great weekend, but you're excited that the next day is a work day. Then you know that something's happening right at work. It's not just money, you're looking forward to it, you're solving problems in your head, and it's something more than just a job.
The rest of the night went much smoother than the night before, as all teams had figured out their path, and now they were walking the final stretch. And yes, that meant that they would all spend the night, once again, in the office, including Paul Handley, who gave us his wise Kiwi reasoning for choosing not to go home.
If they're here, I'm here. You know, we're all in. It's a team activity. Secondly, it's really good to build relationships. We don't build relationships in office hours. We build it when we do crazy stuff together. And those relationships will be enduring when we've actually got some big hurdles to knock over in time.
The last interview we did that night was with the Cobra team, who had finally seen the light. And so when we asked them for a status on their project, this is what they answered.
Yeah, it's...
After a sleepless night, we finally hit Sunday. And if you thought that hacking all night could be a difficult job, then you might be forgetting that our hackers still had to face off the judges.
I'm hoping for an innovative approach to training. I'm hoping for a low cost that'll appeal to a lower tier customers.
I want to see what they've done in 48 hours. I'm just here to see what they've done.
Are you going to be a hard or a soft judge?
We'll see. It depends how good they are at pitching it.
I'm pretty excited about the whole event.
The first team to start was Team VS, who were prepared to share the miracles of machine learning with a packed audience that was ready to learn.
Taking a large data set, which looks hard to understand, and representing it in a visual format, allowing you to actually understand very quickly what's going on in that data. This is what machine learning is. Another thing we found is that the customer was using the equipment in a certain way, which was counterintuitive, and that was clear across the whole exercise. Now, it begs a question, perhaps we can do something better as a company and provide a better solution.
The team also finally unveiled what their name meant, Virtual Systems, which referred to their vision of finding ways to present truly interactive training data.
And that way soldiers, if they're not sure what was happening in the exercise, they can revisit the same scenarios and then actually see what was happening and why the movements were occurring as they were.
Second team was Cobra, who took to the stage with the same bite and courage that their name suggests.
Why don't we run software for programming or for analyzing the exercise on a laptop with a smaller radio like this? Why does the system have to be so large?
The Cobras were successful in proving that new technologies can be used right now to increase the portability of the company's training systems. Although more development was certainly needed, the potential benefits of their idea was very clear for everyone to understand. And then it was time for the HKGs.
We wanted to come up with a low-energy laser detection system, a manware, that used some of the existing technology and maybe just modified it a bit. Pretty much a whole new system in 2 days. I know it sounds crazy, but we gave it a go.
In a little over 15 minutes, Hideo, Katisi, and George presented different working ideas
And the difference between this system is not wired at the back.
that could at the very least be turned into substantial upgrades for Cubic's training systems.
I thought that on that one, they obviously demonstrated an example of machine learning, so I think they've done that.
I had 4 for that. I had 5.
Picking the winner was not an easy task in this hackathon.
We feel like the highest quality was the software-defined radio. The other two were about split.
Outside, everyone was impatient to know the results.
And our top prize goes to HKG.
And so the HKG and their complete redesign of one of Cubic's training systems took the first spot. The second spot went to Team Cobra, and the third to Team VS. A well-deserved top prize for a very tight competition.
Just make fun, it's just enjoy it. That's the most important part.
To finalize this hackathon, we spent a day with the members of the winning team to learn more about those things in their lives that fuel their innovation. Our first interview was with Katisi Fatauka, who studied to be a doctor but found his passion in engineering. As a first-generation Kiwi from Tongan descent, Katisi told us that his innovation comes from always applying an important trick that was passed on to him by his parents.
Rather than fitting my family around my work, I try to fit my work around my family. Our Tongan culture is a lot about family, doing stuff together, especially extended family, like we do group things together. And I think if I was at work all the time, I'd be stressed out too much anyway. So these guys help me to relax and remind me what's important.
Our second interview that day was with Hideo Yoshihim, who was constantly participating in marathons and triathlons. For him, innovation was a product of keeping a healthy mind and a healthy body.
Particularly, you got to sit in long hours in a chair and doing computer in front of the screen, and then go home again, sit in the couch, which is absolutely no good. You have to move it. You have to move your body to circulate your blood and then the mind as well.
And so finally, we last visited with George, a former rocket scientist from Russia who is married to a virtuoso violinist who plays for the Auckland Symphony. He had an almost poetic way of explaining his very close relationship with innovation.
Ideas, they are all in the air. You just have to see them. Like in sculpture technique. You have a piece of marble, just remove everything that is extra. Same with ideas. They're all around. Just find the right one.
The hackathon was a very powerful event to focus our efforts as a team on enabling our employees to take their grand ideas, try them out on a small stage, experience failure and learn from that. And we had 3 great ideas, all of which provide a compelling, low-cost, high-quality engineering solution, all of which would solve different parts of the Train Anywhere problem. I think we've got a lot of opportunity to move these projects forward.
Thanks for watching this Hackathon Trail episode from beautiful New Zealand. Please stay tuned for our next episode from the heart of Cubic Transportation Systems in London. We encourage you to connect with other cubes from all of our different offices around the world. After all, we are all one big Cubic family.